Hello there, it's Angela Raspis, and welcome to episode 61 of the Your Next Chapter podcast. Thanks for sharing your time with me today. Now, you're in for an absolute doozy of an episode today. I was sitting down going back through the show notes and writing them up for you, and I was struck by the amount of insight and expertise and openness that the gorgeous Jenny Lacy has shared with us in this wholehearted conversation. Now, Jenny's a video marketing strategist and a copywriter, and I love her description. I'll just read this here to you. Rejecting random acts of video marketing and needing an effortless system to follow to build her own business visibility, Jenny developed Lights, Camera, Lipstick, a 5-step system that makes adding video marketing simple and easy to implement in any type of business, and do it like a star. Now, Jenny shares some really great insights with us, just talking about how important it is to bring video into your business. And if that strikes terror, if that thought of being in front of a camera strikes terror into your heart, she reassures us, look, we all feel like that when we're first staring down that barrel of a lens, but your confidence comes as your competence builds. And Jenny talks about 3 very distinctive steps you need to take to allow that confidence to be building before you even hit record. She's got some wonderful tips on how to utilize Facebook Live and also how to bring together actual videos, be they pre-recorded or live, into your business structure. There really are some great tips that you can put into action straight away. And the reality is that with 85% of video content being consumed online, and that jumping up to 90% when it comes to Facebook, it really is a tactic that you need to consider. But don't get scared, because as I said, lots and lots of tips in here. But alongside this wonderful insight that Jenny's sharing, she is also letting us know about her own story. It started 10 years ago when she really began to step into what is my next chapter going to be. And as happens so often when it comes to next chapters, it doesn't always start that pretty. With her, it was a case of major surgery after illness, a divorce, and the need to take care of her 3 small children, and to find a way to build a sustainable, enjoyable business that would allow her to do that. Look, and there's lots of false starts and turns to the left and right until she really found that recipe that works for her. But the message is very strong that don't wait until you've got all your ducks lined up in a row. You have to test things out and get market reaction as well as internal reaction to see how that's going to be. So you don't wait. Don't wait, don't wait. That's definitely the message. Keep moving forward. So I know you'll get so much out of this episode. Jenny also goes on to share some of those answers to the questions that I'm asking of all my guests these days, to find out how they built their community, how they attract leads, and how they actually package up their programs and services as well. Because those sorts of insights will help you work out what you're going to do in your own next chapter business, whether you're just starting or whether you're realigning or expanding. We've definitely got great insights to help you with all of those directions. So sit back if you're in the car or going for a jog or however you like to listen to this podcast. You'll probably want to come back again later and make some notes. But definitely visit the podcast page, which is angelaraspis.com/61, and you'll be able to see a lot of those notes that I shared and other insights that Jenny has for us. But for now, sit back, jog back, however it is for you, and enjoy this wholehearted conversation. Inspiration, clarity, confidence, and wholehearted business strategy. Welcome to Your Next Chapter, the podcast especially for women in their 40s and beyond who know that business and personal development go hand in hand. Tune in each week for marketing, mindset, and personal growth strategies, along with inspiring stories from women around the world who are creating new businesses and lives that are personally fulfilling and financially rewarding. If you're looking to create a business and life you love, you're in great company. Let's find out what will unfold in your next chapter. I'm your host, Angela Raspis, and I'm so delighted that you're here.
Hi, my next chapter started for me about 10 years ago when I got really sick and I had to have some major surgery, and not long after that, unfortunately, my marriage ended, and I was by myself with 3 boys and had to work out how I could earn a living but still, maintain that sanity around managing 3 kids by myself without any family support, without anybody extra, and no sort of safety net with me to help me out with that. So that kind of was the main turning point. And then there was one more after that, which was a career-related one.
So when you, as we were talking before we hit record on the video, on the podcast, you were talking about how a lot of your background had been in the learning and development space, and there was, fabulous full-time contracts that were happening there. But that second turning point that came along, you had a bit of a recognition or a realization that this isn't working for me any longer, and I want to go in a different direction. Can you talk about what happened there, Jenny?
Yeah, the thing with having a career of any kind, I think that you've studied for and worked in for a really long time. So for me at that stage would have been about 20 years of my life I'd been in learning and development in some way, shape or form, whether it was facilitating or writing programs, delivering programs and so forth. And it's really hard in that space to find a contract that isn't full-time hours, because if they want you for a project I should say, then they want you on site. It's full-time hours and it's a pretty big deal. So about 3 years ago, I did a program upgrade for a staffing services company, and it was great money. Like, it was really fabulous income, but the team were pretty toxic. It was a pretty horrible experience all round, really. And I'm not the only one who had that experience in that project either. There was a lot of people who changed employers and all sorts of stuff after it. But I just thought, you know what, I don't want to do this anymore. This isn't sustainable for me. It's certainly not sustainable for my kids. And even though the money was great, I just felt revolting. I really didn't enjoy it. It was certainly not a labour of love, put it that way. So I had to reconsider what can I do? What do I want to do? And what can I do? And how can I earn a living from it?
They're the big questions, aren't they, when you hit that wall? And there can be fear about, okay, as you're saying, this is taking care of me. This is giving me that financial safety net, so to speak. I'm earning good money, and that but gets bigger than what's actually happening, and you need to move in that new direction. So when you were doing a little bit of that consideration and consolidation, what are my skills? What am I going to do? What came up for you there? How did your next chapter, your next opportunity become almost obvious to you as to what I was going to create from there? What happened?
It's a good question. And I think one thing I want to say to people is when you have those self-reflective, what do I really want to do? What am I really good at? What value do I provide to people? How can I turn that into a business? That's not always, the first answer you come up with is not necessarily the right one. It's just an answer and you move with it. You take action on that. And then as you take action, other things become clearer. And I want to make sure that people know I didn't suddenly decide 3 years ago to run workshops and teach people how to use video marketing, that it was actually a process. And the first part of that process was I wanted to be by myself, which of course as an extrovert is ridiculous. But at the time, after that awful project, I really just felt like I wanted to work by myself behind a computer and not have to actually have a team around me. So I thought, you know what I'm really good at? I'm really good at writing. I think I should be a copywriter. So I actually learnt as much as I could. I did some great projects with copywriting, found a fabulous community of copywriters, and then started getting really itchy feet about a year later when I realised how much I hated being by myself at home behind my computer. It's like, you lunatic, what would possess you to think that you are actually really productive enough and disciplined enough to just work like this? It doesn't really work for me. And I still do some copywriting and I do really love it. But I realised that I wanted to run a business and I wanted to get back into what I do best, which is actually teaching people and encouraging and working with groups of people.
That's great. I love the recognition that you have that the first move that we make is not necessarily going to be the end move. I reckon that very much our next chapters are about an evolution. So you take a step and then you course correct, and then you take another step and get feedback internally or externally and course correct again. And I often say to my clients is that you can't steer a parked car. it's impossible. You have to get moving and see how it feels and what that reaction is like, and then you can start moving again. And hey, as a fellow extrovert, I get it. I get it. I do spend a fair amount of time being a business mentor, and I run masterminds with women all over the world. So we get together on Zoom, but I have to have that dose of face-to-face contact as well. It's so important for me. I'd just wither on the vine if I was always just sitting in my office.
So and there's only so many times you can wear your tracky dacks and your Ugg boots and still feel like you are the person you want to be. It's hard to explain. It's okay sometimes, but I definitely don't recommend that we do that as a default position for our businesses everywhere.
I agree. And actually, little asterisks there. One of the habits that I set for myself working at home is I get dressed and made up each morning. Like I actually, I'm sitting here in my sort of a little bit sort of corporate garb to an extent, but with my big boots on, because I want to feel as though I'm going to work, not just going upstairs.
Yeah, absolutely.
Same scenario.
And that's a great tip for anti-procrastination, actually, is getting dressed properly, like you're actually going to go and see some people. So put a face on if that's what you do, get dressed. I think that's been a good method for me to avoid procrastinating all day. So you're right, that's great.
We're in the same boat. So here we were, you were a copywriter, you found you had that brilliant ability to prose and to edit and to create stories for people, and you found that wonderful community, but time to go a step further. You're evolving. I know that a big part, the central core of your business now as a visibility coach is working around the video marketing area. So how did that come up? How did you sort of twist from copywriting to getting your message out visually instead?
Well, I think, again, I went back to what are my core skills? What am I actually really good at doing? What do I love to do? And where do I sit that is perhaps in a better position to be an expert compared to somebody else? That I'm not an expert at writing, annual reports, but I tell you what, I'm really good at writing video scripts, because I know as a presenter how to write for speaking. And so it kind of started from there, me thinking, actually, that's a pretty good segue between working as a facilitator and a presenter for so long with groups from, 2 to 200, translating that into a writing environment and starting to get back into a presenting mindset. Started with thinking about video scripts and how I could be perhaps a specialist and have a niche in video scripting. But again, that's not enough. That, I need to work with the people who are going to do the speaking. And I realised that I can teach people how to do that. That's something that I'm actually really capable of, is helping you get message clarity around what it is you want to say. And then, of course, I don't know how to do a video, Jenny. Okay, well, let's do that. So I sort of did that a little bit for myself and for a few other people that are close enough to me, that I already knew a bit about their business and so forth. And then I realised how much I really loved it. And I created the system, if you like, Lights, Camera, Lipstick, it's called, because it needed to be easy, because I thought, you know what, there's so many things every day that are non-business related that demand my time and attention. And if I don't have a fairly straightforward system to follow to create video content, I'm just not going to do it. So if that's me, then other people will feel the same, that it needs to be something that we can do fairly easily without, the big bells and whistles and spending squillions of dollars on a video production company and all the other things that sometimes go with video. So that's sort of how that was the evolution of that. And one thing I think I really want to point out there is, a lot of people say, get out of your comfort zone, work with your passion, do this thing, do that thing. But a lot of people that do that have a safety net. They either have a partner with an income, or they might have lots of family that help them with their kids, or all sorts of different things. So just be careful not to jump over the edge of the cliff to do something new take on a next chapter without realizing that the security of having some kind of safety net, whether that's still a part-time job or it's something that you still have that chugging along with you, is okay. You don't have to be all or nothing. And I think a lot of online entrepreneurs have made us think that unless we're 100% in our business, that we're not really faithful to it, which is ridiculous, because you need a safety net as well.
I think that is one of the smartest things that anyone can recognize and implement. These are actually conversations that I've been having with a lot of people lately. I call it an investor client, whether that investor client be a part-time job, whether it be a corporate client in an area that maybe isn't your most favorite thing, but it pays the bills, and they're investing in you so that you can do the thing that does call you. But I think if you do go and chuck everything off to the side and leap into your business, the pressure that puts on you and the pressure that puts on your business to be all things to you can often break it. So I think that's incredibly wise advice.
It's just sort of come up most recently that I realised how many entrepreneurs that I know online aren't full-time in their business. And I felt like I'd been sort of lied to, which is, weird and silly. But some of them said, oh, no, a lot of us have other income. And I said, how many? What's wrong with me? I didn't do that. I don't know why I didn't do that. Maybe because I'm a bit more all or nothing sort of personality. But yeah, it's just something that I think I did wrong. I think I should have looked for another way to have a more permanent income in the background rather than using savings from those big contracts that I did. But yeah, anyway, I'm really happy where I'm at right now, and I know it's going to get bigger, and yeah, it's good.
And we live and we learn, don't we? I mean, I can't think of how I like the expression of looking back with hindsight and recognizing that, we do the best we can until we know different, then we do better or different. And having that realization, that recognition that you have and sharing that with others, then hopefully we can make that a little bit easier for a woman who's listening right now. Because I know for sure when I stopped my marketing agency, I've been an entrepreneur, had my own business since 2003. So it's been a long haul, but there's been evolutions within that time. And when I actually stopped having my full-time marketing agency and my staff and my office and the whole bit, I still kept a couple of corporate clients as I began this next chapter for me. That was back in 2012. And that certainly made it easier to then move through those evolutions. And I love the way you ask the questions, what is it that I'm good at? What do I love? Where can I find that need in the market? Where can I segue? And so that transition became softer for me because I had that background client or clients that could help me get through that establishment phase. So really important conversation to have. And you were saying, Jenny, that one of the things that you also recognize is how our businesses will scale over time as the needs of our kids and the other demands of what's happening in our life, the different seasons we're in, are going to change as well. Could you speak to that for a moment? Because I think that's really important too.
Yeah, it's something that I think when I was still in product development mode, so I really needed to hone what is it that I know what I'm offering, but I need it to be something that is marketable, something that people will understand. So I did a lot of that testing online because it's cheap to do that online, to be honest, compared to running workshops in real life and all that sort of stuff. If you do things, if you test your market and you test your content online, it's a lot cheaper, but it also is faster in terms of, well, that didn't work. And actually it's more about confidence than it is about the technique or whatever. And that really helped me understand the possibilities of, okay, well, if this is my workshop skeleton, if you like, that lends itself to all these other potential opportunities. Now, right now, my kids still need me at home. I find even evening things are difficult for me, but that's not how it's always going to be. And so even though I've travelled a little bit this year, I've been sort of testing the water and just doing things perhaps on a Friday and then coming back on Saturday, so I only have to logistically manage one night for them. I know that in a couple of years' time, I will be able to travel all over Australia. I will be able to take the exact same product but make it into something that is on a different scale. And I think that's been a real... that's been really lovely for me to know that I have actually created something that I don't have to recreate a whole heap of stuff actually. So if you said to me, can you come and run this 2-day event? Yes, I can. Do you want me to do a 1 hour? I can do half an hour and get through exactly the same sort of content on a different scale. I think that's been a really big winning point for me in my business.
And it sounds as though you were talking earlier. I love the expression lights, camera, lipstick. And you were talking before about and it's a bit of fun. We need to have some fun in our business as well. But that concept of you have a system, and this is something I certainly teach very strongly in the masterminds and groups that I work with, is that having your own signature system, reverse engineering how you take someone to a specific outcome and what are the steps that you take them through to get them there. And you've got this system happening now, and it can be expanded into a 2-day workshop. It could be contracted down to an opt-in. You've got a fabulous one that we'll share the details of later on. It can be a 1-day workshop. It could be a 2-hour masterclass. You know, there's many ways in which you could take that system and actually present it to an audience. And how you said you can test things out, you know, quickly and get that feedback online. And then as your life changes, you'll be able to take it further. But it really comes down, I think, to developing that core system in the beginning. So you've got that clarity as you start to build the business, yeah?
Yeah, yep.
Excellent.
And I think the being able to look at what it is you do and be able to, now obviously I've chosen a niche and not everybody does, but I think at the core of what most of us do, there are some really heartfelt core value-based messages, and they are the basis for the things that you can be a guest speaker for or do a program for or a masterclass for. And that's where I get everybody to start, really, is what do you stand for, is a question I normally ask.
And do you find it easy to draw people out? If you are asking people, do you get people that are very clear on what they stand for? Is this something that has not necessarily been posed in the past, so sometimes they have to ponder? What's your experience been there?
So, for example, on the weekend, I met someone who is at the very beginning. She's a startup. She has found herself separated and living in a different city, so she doesn't even really know anyone in Melbourne. And when I asked her the question, she couldn't answer it. So I said, just keep talking, because often the clarity comes towards an end of a paragraph or a conversation that you say, that you have with somebody. And the language that we take for granted about what we do happens at the beginning of when you try and describe what it is you do. But as you keep talking, you often you use different words, you often change your language, because if I'm still not understanding what you do, you're forced in a way to be less jargon based or less specific, and less in your own sort of competence, and then you move towards somebody who doesn't know what you're talking about. It actually makes you think about how you're going to describe what you do. So I find a conversation is the best way to draw that out of people. They don't always get it the first time, but it's been a really interesting thing in the last, what's that now, probably 2 years, saying to people, what are you putting in your intro video? What's your 60-second introduction? And you've got to go back to those core messages to know what you want to say.
Yeah, it's important, isn't it, for that first message that you're sharing with the world, for it to have resonance. So for the and to be specific enough so that it both qualifies people, so to speak. So I hear myself in your message. Aha, that's me. Yeah, that's my problem. You're my solution. But it also needs to disqualify you, as in that you're not my people, because we don't want to try and be all things to all people. So I've often found that people get a little hesitant about wanting to narrow down their niche and get more specific. There's a little bit of fear of missing out on, potential audiences or clients. Do you find that when you're helping people with their messaging?
Yeah, that is so true. And I sort of tongue in cheek when I sort of talk to people, and usually I already know them when I say this sort of stuff, is when I have spoken, because I've spoken to hundreds of women in the last couple of years about what do you do? And this is usually to come up with the script for their intro video, which says, hey, I'm Jenny Lacy, and I work with women who blah, 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 blah. So whatever that video is for that person, they need to get their wording right. And I've said, okay, just tell me a little bit tell me what you do. What do you do? And I love how people say, oh, I do, I'm a life coach or I'm a business coach, and I work with people in business to put systems in place in their business so that they can achieve the results that they want. Okay. So now that every single business coach says exactly the same thing, tell me again, why are the systems important? Let's say that's your thing, that you're a systems legend and you're really good at picking out the processes in my business that I didn't even know I needed. how else would you say that? How could you say that to me? And I find they'll say, oh, and I do this other thing, and I work with groups of women, and I do some fundraising, and I run these workshops. And I say, I know that we're all, by the time we are, and I'm 50 next month, we are all capable of so much. I get it. I totally understand that a lot of us could do more than the job we're doing now. We could find several different things that we are capable of doing. However, getting the passion and the drive for a specific thing will also open up opportunities for other things once people get to know you for that thing. Does that make sense?
It does.
And so that's what I encourage people to do. Yeah.
If I could give a visual sort of analogy, and I've often spoken about this, is when you're going into a business or an organization. This is when I was working with larger clients, but I think it still works here as well. Imagine that your message is an umbrella, okay, and you keep that umbrella closed and you take the pointy end into a business, because then you can fit in there quite easily with a specific message that targets a specific problem or aspiration. Once you're in there and you've built the trust and you've demonstrated your expertise and you've solved a problem, then you can open the umbrella. And it is harder to pull you out then, because suddenly you can show the other things that are possible. You build that into an office staircase, like what's your first step, next step, next step. But if you tried to go in there with the umbrella open, that's hard. That's really big and bulky, and trying to push that through the front door, as opposed to the little narrow, here we go, here's the thing I can specifically help with.
Yeah, this is a particular problem I'm going to help you with. I've got a really good example. Do you want me to give an example of somebody?
Absolutely. We love examples, bringing it to life.
So this is a wellness coach who, on the face of it, you go, yeah, wellness coach, whatever. I don't even know what that means. Does that mean you're going to help me lose weight? Does it mean you're going to show me how to cook? I don't even know. What are you going to do to me? I don't know. Anyway, so what we narrowed down is that her self-care strategies are just so spot on and so easy to implement that once people get to trust that she really cares about, these are the things that you could do every day to improve your own life, but your business life, your family life, whatever. So she focuses on those sorts of things on her Facebook Live. But in actual fact, she would also be a weight loss coach for you if that's what you needed. She is also, she sells Young Living Essentials or something or other as well. And so all of those other things that she does are spearheaded by her self-care values that show through in all her content and all over her website. And I think that's a really good example of someone who, she's capable of quite a lot, but if she said wellness coach, I don't know. There's a lot of, what does that really mean? Whereas she decided to take a specific focus. And that's why I say to people, just what's the thing you love the most? What's the thing that makes you, if somebody asks what you do, that's the thing you end up talking about the most. What's that thing? Because that can be the entrance to the rest. So you might be really specifically excellent, have expertise about a particular type of copywriting, but that doesn't mean you wouldn't do other copywriting, but maybe your entry point for that client is about the one thing that they need that you love to do, which might be blog posts or websites or whatever. And then you end up doing all their stuff, social media and blah, blah, blah as well. So it's encouraging people to, if you look like a jack of all trades or a Jill of all trades, it's hard for people to understand how you can solve their specific problem.
Amen to that one. Totally agree. So we're hearing two parts here. We're hearing that as you're moving into a next chapter, or even if you've got a business now and you're looking at realigning it further, being very aware of what you're good at, of what the market needs, of the sweet spot between there, but recognizing there's going to be evolution from there, and recognizing that if you can niche further so that your message really resonates with an audience, you can always expand further on. So you're almost seeing like this hourglass. It's going in and out and in and out as you're getting niched and then expand and niche and then expand. So, well, let's talk about, let's say that someone has come to you and they recognize that they've got their niche sorted. They recognize what it is in terms of the message that with your help, the message that they're wanting to bring out to the world. Why video? Why is video? I mean, this one of the things that we hear a lot is how many different options there are for marketing. It's never ending. There's a plethora of options out there, but video is something that really you feel very strongly about as being so important. And I know there's some people who can be scared of video for sure. I'm cool with it these days once I got over seeing myself on the camera. But why is video so important in your experience to help grow a business?
I think the main thing is that if we've been using email marketing or content marketing on our website or social media, It's usually what it has in the past been words and images, which are not anywhere near as powerful as people being able to see you and hear you. So if you're going to meet people in person, that's the best. There's no doubt in my mind that face-to-face networking is even the most powerful. So that's at the very pointy end of meeting people in real life and being able to, network with them and get to know them, connect with them, work with them, whatever. But the next best thing, in my opinion, is them being able to see you on a video. Because whether it's a live broadcast or a pre-recorded video, it is the next best thing to meeting in person, because we see your body language, we hear your voice. We are programmed at a very primitive level to react emotionally to other human beings, whether we, and that's before we're even logically deciding whether we like what they say. We're reacting to them. There's an emotional pull to watch someone. And I've had, the statistics are absolutely crazy. Really, really crazy. It's something like 85 or 80% of the content consumed online is on video probably by the end of this year. Facebook certainly are saying that the viewership of video on Facebook is up in the 90s, that people will watch videos and make a buying decision based on a video. And if you haven't got one, then they might move along to the next one. So it's really something that I think it's the best way to get your message out there. It's cheap, and it's easy, once you know how, to do it well and not be one of the people who perhaps do video content and don't engage with people well enough because they haven't put a few little bits and pieces in place that I teach people to do. But yeah, it's super important that people get to know you and trust you, because you'll stand out. You stand out from all the people who don't use video.
So yeah, and I totally agree with the idea that the very best networking or connection is face to face. There's nothing as powerful as that, but it's not always possible. So we're very fortunate. We've got this fallback position, and there's no doubt that that Facebook has been rewarding people who use video. If we're just looking at that as a particular social media platform, it certainly increases your reach, the engagement, etc., etc. So let's just talk just for a moment, if we can. I'll delve into your head a little bit here. Live video. So we're talking Facebook Live. And so it's pushing that button and it's talking to the world. Could you perhaps give us an understanding that obviously if people want to delve in deeper, we'll make sure your contact details are available on the show notes and towards the end of the episode. But if you're going to give us a snippet of what not to do, say, what are 3 mistakes perhaps you've seen people do when they delve into Facebook Live that could be fixed with a little bit of insight and advice?
Okay. There are a few things that people forget about or don't even realise because nobody told them in terms of Facebook Live, so that when you press go live, which is just in your status update, you can go live or you can add a photo, so you press go live, is that they do it counts down 3, 2, 1, and then you're live. And a lot of people are either not looking at the lens of their camera, so they're looking at themselves on the screen, which I find way less engaging. So if you were talking to me in real life, you wouldn't look at the person standing next to me and ignore me. You would look at me if we were talking. And so I say to people, tons and tons of people don't even know where the lens of their camera is on their phone. So find that black dot at the top of your phone and start looking at the lens instead of at yourself on the screen. And the reason it makes a difference, I think, is that if we're having a conversation with someone, which is how it should feel, that's the sort of conversational confidence that I try and teach people, is that if you're looking at the lens of the camera, I'm going to feel like you're really speaking to me. And the second thing is have your phone up high enough so we're like face to face. Don't hold it down in your lap, because in real life, would you stand over my shoulder and look down at me when you spoke to me? And the answer, of course, is no. So if you want people to feel really welcome and really engaged with you, just have the camera up high enough so that the camera lens is at eye level. It's really interesting that so many people don't do that. Even seasoned campaigners don't do that, and I don't understand why. They'd rather stand and look down at the camera, which incidentally, everybody can see up your nose, and it makes your chin look really big. Nobody looks good looking down at the camera, by the way. Even if you're a size 6, you're still going to look bigger than you want to look on camera. And I don't believe you if you say you don't want to look good, because everybody wants to look as good as they can. But Facebook Live is interesting because there's a lag. So there's about 30 seconds or thereabouts where you might be live and chatting away, and all of a sudden someone will post a comment and it's something you mentioned ages ago, or in your mind, it feels like you mentioned it ages ago. So just be aware of the lag. It's not immediate, Facebook Live. So let's say you ask a question and you're waiting for some interaction. It's okay to just wait. It's okay to say to people, I'd love your opinion on this. I'm just going to wait and see who's got a question or a comment. And it means awkwardly, kind of, that you have to just stop speaking for a minute and let people catch up, because there's a lag of about 30 seconds or thereabouts.
So it's to be very comfortable.
Yeah, it's sort of it takes a bit of practice, but I have a whole resource page on Facebook Live on my website that is free. So we can share that link to Angela, because it's just one of those things. There's some tips that the pros just will not tell you because they don't think you need to know them. But I know that we don't want to go sideways. We don't want to be live sideways. We all want to be the right way up, don't we? And we want to.
That sounds like a reasonable option. Yes.
Michelle Laurie, who lots of your listeners will know Michelle Laurie. She's a brilliant comedian here in Australia, and she's a human rights campaigner, and she's all these fabulous things. She goes live every Friday. She was sideways on Friday. She's got thousands of people watching and sharing, and she was even sideways. So people who even are around and in the media still don't use Facebook Live to the best of its ability. So yeah, I just encourage everybody to please don't go live from your car in your sweats. Make it look like you care about the fact that I might be watching and I'm going to learn a bit more about your business. I'm not sure why everybody likes to go live from their car. I don't think that puts your best business foot forward, in my opinion. You might disagree, and that's okay. But I think that, looking at the camera lens, making sure the camera's high enough that you're not looking down at me, and memorizing the fact that there's a little lag, so it's not actually live, it's kind of semi-live, is probably the three things. And my sneaky fourth one is go live in a way that represents your business the best.
Absolutely. I like that. Those are real connection tips, because as we're talking about, this is one of the wonderful ways that you can actually build up that know, like, and trust factor at a quicker rate than if you're sending out all those autoresponders.
I'm not saying
we're not saying that it should replace it, but we're saying this definitely augments the relationships that you're building with these potential clients, with your audience.
It's free.
Yeah.
We're so lucky.
Gotta love that.
We have 75% of Facebook users use Facebook for business. So people who say that their clients aren't on Facebook, that is incorrect. They are on Facebook. They may be socializing or in business groups, but the opportunity to do free promotion for your opt-in or for your website or for your current event or whatever, or just share value on Facebook Live is humongous. And while it's getting so much news feed, can I just share two stats with you, Angela?
Absolutely.
Is that all right?
Yeah, of course.
So the thing about Facebook Live, the reason it gets delivered to so many more people's news feeds when you're live than any other kind of post is that because the engagement on a Facebook Live is about 10 times the engagement of normal posts or even pre-recorded video posts. So if you catch people, if they are watching you live, you're going to get 10 times more comments and reactions. And so the algorithm of Facebook says, here's something really fabulous that people are loving. I'm going to share this with more news feeds. And that way you're increasing your normal reach of your Facebook page, your business page. And so while that's getting delivered to so many people, and if you're going to do it really well, so you're standing out for all the right reasons, it honestly would have to be the most powerful free promo tool there is, in my opinion.
No, I completely agree with you on the power of it. I've seen it myself when I've used it within my groups and on my Facebook page. And I think those connection tips that you gave, that importance of connection, we've got the other side of the coin. I think there's three pieces to it. So we've got the those connection tips that you've given. We've got the actual content where you're actually going to work out how am I going to add value and make a contribution to the audience, being very aware of what the outcome is that you're wanting to achieve and structuring it well. But there's the elephant in the corner of the room, and that's the confidence piece. Oh my God, I am not going live on Facebook. I will faint. I will forget what to say. I just can't do this. I know without a doubt that there'll be some people who are listening going, look, Jenny, it sounds awesome. I totally get this 10 times the engagement. I wish the hell I could do it, but I just can't. It's scary. What do you say under those circumstances? How can we coax our lovely ladies online in front of the camera?
This is my favourite topic, actually, because I have delivered this message that I'm going to share with you in a sec with a copywriting conference. So the room full of introverts, basically. And also for a big conference of virtual assistants who are similarly introverted, but a bit more techie minded maybe. And my comment is, nerves are really normal, and feeling nervous can be paralyzing. But what I want people to understand is, once you grow in confidence by having confidence in your message, in the technology, by practicing it or using it, or just getting a little less sensitive to it, and confidence in how you look on the camera by following some really simple tips, your nerves definitely decrease. So as your confidence or your competence in how to use Facebook Live in your business increases, your nerves will decrease. So the nerves shouldn't be the reason that stop you, because you can easily increase your competence and your skill and reduce your nerves. It doesn't mean the absence of nerves. I think it's really important that people acknowledge that they feel nervous, but that might always happen anyway. Most people, even me, loudmouth, whatever I am, I would still feel nervous standing in front of a big group of people that I hadn't met before. And in fact, if you don't feel some nerves, to me, it means you don't really care enough about what it is you're saying, or that you want to do a good job for the people that you're presenting to, whether that's live or in person or whatever. And so nerves are really absolutely normal, and I would totally expect them. If you didn't feel nervous, you're possibly, I don't know, a psychopath. I don't know. But the growing in your confidence by identifying where you're feeling the most nervous, whether that's what you're going to say, how you look, or how to use a technology, or all three, will certainly reduce your nerves. So don't let them be the thing that stops you. Just make that your goal is to feel less nervous each time.
Oh, that is such great advice. It really dovetails with what I believe as well. And I did training a wee while ago with Russ Harris, who's also been a guest on this podcast, who does ACT training, which is acceptance and commitment training. And one of the big parts about this is the confidence piece. And one of the classic lines that Russ says is that the actions of confidence come first, the feelings of confidence come later, which is exactly what you're saying. If we wait until we're confident, we'll be waiting a long time.
Yeah,
but
if you can, happen that way, does it?
It doesn't.
Yeah,
no. So if we address those competence gaps, as in, okay, do I have a script? Tick. Do I have my lipstick on? Tick. Do I have the camera angle at the right angle? Tick. Do I know where the lens is? Tick. Do I have a message that I feel strongly about? Tick. So if we cover off of those and learn the techie side, I mean, I still get the nerves as well. Absolutely. For me, it hits me in the bottom of the belly. And that's where I feel my nerves. And it's this little ball of tightness and a bit of nausea that kicks in. But what I've learned to do, I'm assuming you have as well, Jenny, is that I acknowledge it's there. And then I take the action anyway. And it usually goes away. It usually goes away when I'm recording or speaking or whatever I'm doing. And the ground hasn't opened up and swallowed me. I have not been hit by lightning. No one's throwing tomatoes. It's okay.
Yeah.
I can
and
keep
also,
going.
we're not brain surgeons. So actually, it really doesn't even matter.
So that's a good point.
If you feel that you fail at a Facebook Live, you didn't hurt anyone, let's sort of realise that this, at the end of the day, you're not hurting anybody if you don't do it 100% the way you want to do it either, and that you will get better each time. Each time you do it, you get better and better. And I just maybe want to touch on how can you do that? So my advice to people is to find a group on Facebook that you feel really comfortable and confident with, and practice there, so that only a few people will see you live, but you are actually going live to an audience. You're not just doing a live to yourself, which you can do on your personal profile. You're doing a live to a group of business people, potentially, or whoever your audience is, and that you find your feet there before you go live publicly on your business page, if that's something that would make a difference to your confidence. That would be something I highly recommend.
That's a great pro tip, absolutely. And that's so I'll make the offer here for everyone if you're listening right now. I do have one of those gorgeous groups where you can feel in a very safe and supportive environment. It's called, surprise, surprise, Your Next Chapter Community. And you can find that when you search under the Facebook groups and ask to join. And I would encourage people absolutely to come and try out the Facebook Lives in that safer environment. That's a fantastic tip. Thank you, Jenny. Well,
I'm happy to host a little challenge in there if you want to.
hey,
More
well,
than
that's something
happy.
we can let's have a talk about that offline as well,
Yeah.
because it's something that I think being seen is really important for us, especially, I mean, at all times, but especially in our next chapters, because we do tend to start stepping into the people that we've always meant to be. You know, we've spent, if I know this is a little bit traditional, but you know, we spoke before I hit record. I've been a mum since 23 when I had my stepkids, and then I've had my own children, so it's been a long time. And we take care of a lot of other people, and we take care of a lot of other things quite often until we get to further on in life, which is why I'm hugely interested in supporting women in their 40s and beyond, because it's when, in my opinion and personal experience, we start to open up to become more of those people that we're meant to be. And so visibility is so important. Valuing your message and getting it out there is so important. So yep, let's get ourselves on camera without a doubt. But can we just segue for a moment into your actual business, because understanding what it is that you do, but the development of your business, we've touched on the fact that you recognize that you're going to be able to expand and deepen and broaden when you get to the next season in your life, as the children need you less in the evenings and you can travel more, etc. Well, the areas where we're really interested in knowing how different people approach this, and there's 4 areas. So let's go through the questions one at a time, if I may. So the first one that people love to know is, how do you build your community? How do you build your list? I've got a sort of a sneaking suspicion that video may have something to do with that. So could you share a little of your approach there that we can learn from?
I started out deciding to do live workshops and built a bit of a list around people who were signing up to come to that workshop. That was a year ago, a bit over a year ago. And then I brought that challenge or that content online and did my video confidence challenge, lights, camera, lipstick challenge, whatever it was called. I think I changed the name a couple of times, but essentially the program is lights, camera, lipstick. Did my challenge over 10 days online, did it again for a 5-day session. I've done the challenges online a few times now and grown my list. And the reason that it grows a list is that I really give away a lot of value. Now, the important thing, I think, for some people when they're either in business or starting a business, they sometimes worry they're going to give away all their secrets, and I'm really generous with my knowledge. I don't have a problem with it. Whether you implement it or not is another thing altogether. So the clients that come to me and pay me are usually the people who say, I know I'm not going to do this by myself. Can you do my strategy for me? Can you, stand beside me, write my script, help me, coach me, whatever. But online and in email and so forth, that was all about sharing as much knowledge as possible. I've done guest speaking. I try and network with people in real life as well as online. So it was sort of a multi-pronged kind of, where are the people that are most likely to get value from me and hang out with them. So that's how I've done that for the last 12 months or so.
Yeah, and that's so important I say that they're watering holes. It's focusing on where you're most likely to find those most aligned clients and numbers, and turning up there and regularly, consistently. It takes us
enjoy
time.
it.
Yeah.
Like it might take time. That's why it's got to be something that you enjoy, because you don't imagine schlepping out to going to networking and not really enjoying it because you're not talking about something that you feel really great about, or you've got to sort of love what you're talking about, and that sort of comes back to those core messages again.
And that approach of what I call wholehearted marketing. So it is taking that core message out there, but marketing in a way that you enjoy doing it. And so some people, networking is a joy, and other people, it's a complete drain. So it's deciding out of all that plethora of options, which are the ones that will help you reach your audience, but will also you naturally thrive in. You naturally thrive in. Like, why do I have a podcast? I kind of like talking. So it's a natural fit for me. Obviously, I like listening as well. That's pretty important, but it's a natural fit. You know, the communication is just a huge part of my world. So that's wholehearted marketing for me. So you're starting to attract these people through your challenges, through the networking, through doing guest speaking, and you've brought them online. So how do we take the steps from there? So we've got the audience. How do we turn this into actual attracting leads, inquiries? What's involved for you there in your system or strategy?
It's really important to be probably a little more strategic than I have been. And this is something that I'm learning and doing more of. But somebody called it accessibility this morning. Actually, I read a post from someone. So it's not selling as such. It's really just saying to people, here's this post, here's this Facebook Live, here's this thing I've done, here's this whatever, here's a blog post, whatever. But making sure that it's easy for people to take the next step. What do I actually want you to do when you watch a Facebook Live? I'd love for you to share it. Therefore, I say, please share this with your business buddies who could really do with some help with their confidence on camera or whatever. Or I might have a link to a specific business page on my website, or I might have a link to a landing page for my live workshop. So it's letting people take the next step, then makes them, firstly, it means that they're probably on your list somewhere if that's the case. So I might send someone to my website to sign up for that free training or whatever. So then they give me their email address, and it's letting people take the next step. So they're in that sort of broad top end of your sort of sales funnel, if you like, and it's nice and easy, and everybody loves each other up there because it's free and everybody's sort of trying stuff out. And then when you get a little more specific about, well, actually, you know, I'm going to run this challenge, it's $49 or whatever it is. And so that's sort of how I bring people into, I guess, a sales environment where they've spent some money, they get lots of value, and then again, they possibly, 10% of them or something might go, you know what, I'm not doing this unless you're standing next to me doing it. So they're the ones that become more high-paying clients. Not everybody fits into that category, but it's really just being able to give people the opportunity to take the next step, to get in touch with me, to know where to find me and what action I want them to take. I think women sometimes feel like it's a bit forward, or it's a bit salesy or a bit aggressive or whatever, but it's really just trying to make things easy for people and being as accessible as you can be available, answer your emails quickly, answer your phone, be available and be accessible. It means that people are more likely to trust you and take the next step.
Absolutely. I think that's a really important point that I know that I've heard from my own clients about that hesitation. Well, if they really want to work with me, then they'll ask. Well, sometimes the easiest thing for us to do is maintain the status quo. I mean, I know that myself, and so being invited, being the welcoming mat put out, come this way, take this action, do this thing. No one's strong arming me. You're not holding a gun to my head. I can resist. But if you don't invite, then I don't know the opportunity that is available for like that invitation to transformation that you have. So yeah, important point, just give the value and then make the offers. That's how people will come up. So we're talking in the third instance is that concept of generating cash flow, generating money within our businesses. I mean, number one, it comes from making the offers, but it's also a case of packaging ourselves or packaging our services, isn't it?
It's a really good point, actually. I'd started out when I was learning about copywriting. I learnt from a fantastic human called Kate Toon, and she has packages because it's easy for people to see what they're going to get. So I might say, I'll create a 30-second video with you, which includes this, and this thing for this much money. Away you go. Is that something you want? Yes or no? That's great. But it's not always so obvious that you have a package to offer, that there is something that, pricing is a fraught conversation. I'm sure you've talked about pricing on your podcast before, but it sends people into panic about, who's going to pay me? What's going to happen? But I think we have to think about what value can we offer, and what will solve people's problems the most easily in what we can do for them. And that's why packages, I think, can work rather than an hourly rate.
Yeah, I totally agree. And and if you're looking at the way in which you're like bringing those clients towards you and giving that package a name as well, not just a here's 3 session coaching package or a 6 session
Mm.
coaching package if you're in that business space, but actually giving it a clever name. I'm going to be enamored with lights, camera, lipstick for as long as we both shall live. But that certainly helps. And as you're saying, be very clear about what the inclusions are. What is the outcome you're delivering? How will people feel about it? I'm in a mastermind myself, and my own mastermind facilitator talks about the future self. What's the future space that you're taking people to, the future state that you're taking them to when you've worked through this issue or you've provided the service? And very much talking about that desirable future state helps generate the cash flow, because that's what people are looking for. They're not, and making, I guess one thing is also keeping the language very accessible. I think you were talking about a wellness coach before, and I often give the example of, this is me working with a health coach some time ago, where they were asking people, is lethargy stopping you from reaching your full potential? And it's like, no, I'm just sick of feeling tired all the time. So it's really important to be speaking in the language, that the conversation that's going on in your potential client's head. I think sometimes we can get a bit fancy dancy with our language, and we don't need to.
Yeah.
We don't need to. Well, how
Yeah,
about
just say it like it is. I think, just say it like it
yes.
is and see how that sits with people. Test it if you want to with people in groups. Say, I'm thinking, of this, or do a poll. I'm sure you allow that in your group too, Angela, that if there's a day of the week that works, whatever, create a poll and say, these are the 3 things I'm thinking of calling this particular program or this particular package of service. Which one resonates with you? And just see what other people think about it. Doesn't mean they're going to buy it. You're not asking them to buy it. You're just asking for their feedback about the wording and the language that you're using. So if I say video confidence boot camp versus video marketing masterclass, actually they're kind of the same product from me, but one sometimes resonates more with a group than others. And in fact, I can run both of them and different people will come for exactly the same content, pretty much.
I think
It's
polls are
interesting.
fantastic. I think polls are great, and I've certainly utilised them a lot and appreciate the feedback so often, because it really helps both the
Mm.
name of things and also the inclusions. What do people really need? Where are they
Mm.
at in their journey? How can you help? Because at the end of the day, that's what we're in the business of. We're in the business of helping people.
Mm.
So we should not hesitate to be offering our services and to putting a price tag that reflects the value that we give, because at the end of
Mm.
the day, we're here to help. We're not doing anything
Yeah,
terrible. We're doing a
yeah.
good thing here. So
And we like to connect, don't we, Angela? That's why people
I
are
love it.
attracted to you. That we often we want to know, like, and trust someone online before we work with them, but we often feel we need to be connected before we spend money with them, and that's why it takes time. It takes nurturing. It takes we think, well, I've got this great thing. Why won't people come and spend $497 and do my online course? Well, if they don't really know me and they haven't spent any time with me, how do they know that I'm actually going to deliver anything of value? They want to connect with me. And so I think that we can't underestimate the power of connecting with as many people as possible online through our groups or our page or our LinkedIn or whatever, because that's really where I think women make more buying decisions.
I think you're so right with that idea of the connection. We need to feel connected to the people that we want to work with, because it's a big trust thing. It's a big,
Mm.
hey, I have a gap. Can you help me close it? I'm going to disclose probably a lot of, personal perspectives and beliefs and opinions as I'm moving into that sort of relationship with somebody. I've found, that buying cycle, as I teach it, from I haven't got a clue that I've got a problem and I've got no idea how to solve it. That's the first bit. You're just
Mm.
totally unaware. Then all the steps you move in between. And what I've found in my world is that the typical buying cycle takes about 12 months for somebody to
Yeah,
come
okay.
into my world,
Yep.
to experience all the different sorts of value and nurturing that I provide, until, if it feels right, they step forward. And I'm fine
Mm.
with that. So I don't have that sense of tremendous urgency that I used to have when I was first starting out, that, oh my goodness, if people don't respond immediately, perhaps the idea is crap. No.
Yeah, that is such a good point. That is such a good point. Because when you create something and you have something that you think will really make a difference to people, and you don't get the response you want, it can be really crushing. And I think that's why you need really supportive groups to go back to and say, wow, this really didn't hit the mark. And it's like, you just don't know who's watching. Keep going, keep going. You know, that's why you need the safety net, because you need to know that this stuff takes time. And unfortunately, I learnt that the hard way, spending money on business coaches who did not really tell me, this isn't going to work in 3 months. You've got to keep, you will still be creating and changing and nurturing people to get them over the line to be high paying customers versus mid-range versus free customers. You'll be doing that for yonks. Keep going. You've just got to keep going. And if they told me that, I would have said, oh, well, I might as well just do it by myself for a while until I work out, you know, what I'm talking about, and then I'll come back and pay a coach. But yeah, it's really interesting learning to run a business versus being a contractor, which is really what happened to me. All the pitfalls of starting out, and you're like, this does take time, and we need to give it time.
And that's why these sort of conversations, as we come into the natural close of this chat together, but that's why these sort of conversations are so important, so that we can hear those truths, so that we can recognize that, look, as they say in the Pantene ad, it won't happen overnight, but it will happen. You know, there's a good chance that it will happen. And so, as you're saying, those being in those supportive circles in those groups is so important, because they can keep those spirits up and getting the help so that you can course correct as you move forward, but recognizing that it is evolution. Well, Jenny, this has been just one of those fantastic conversations. I've really enjoyed it. You've shared a lot of your insights and expertise and experience, and that, you know, that's what the Next Chapter podcast is all about, showing people possibilities. So on one hand, you've got the inspiration, but on the other hand, you've also got the practicalities. You know, that beautiful, beautiful blend of the two. And being a bit of a book fiend, that's absolutely no secret in my world. And we're always reading. So I'd love to know, is there a particular book that you're reading or have read lately that you think would be helpful for someone who is in a next chapter, who is building and growing, you know, a business that's really connected to their heart, that can help them from a strategy or a mindset perspective? What have you got up your sleeve and in your bookcase?
Well, there's a few I've been reading lately, because I actually took a whole week off and didn't look at my computer for a week. That was weird. But I did actually read a lot, so that was fantastic. And one of the books that I've now read twice this year is Kate Toon, Confessions of a Misfit Entrepreneur. And the reason it's such a great book is that she just lays it all out. She says, you know what, I don't get up at 6 o'clock in the morning. I don't always feel fantastic, but this is what I do to build my business. And she has 3 successful businesses, and she is, you know, the primary breadwinner. And there's all those things that bring together that story, but also she's very practical about, you need to do this thing. So don't listen to the hype from entrepreneurs online who say, do this thing and earn 6 figures. Be happy with 5 figures until you've honed your your product or your whatever, and don't beat yourself up about, when you have a bit of a setback or whatever. But it's a very practical book, and I love her writing style as well. It's a really engaging little read. It's not a huge book, so it doesn't take long to get some really good learnings from.
That's great. I know Kate from what I've seen online, and she's in a group that I'm in as well, as a fantastic copywriter and definitely an aficionado of SEO, search engine optimization. Didn't know she had a third one. She's a busy lady. Well, we'll make sure that we put an image of that book and a link through to where people can buy it online. And most importantly, people have been inspired by your message and recognize that need or that desire to close the skill gap and the confidence gap when it comes to marketing their business through video. Where can we come and find you online, my darling?
Well, if people want to actually see me in action, I run a Wednesday workshop for free on Facebook Live on my business page on Facebook, which is Video Works with Jenny. And so that's rolling every Wednesday. So this week I'll probably talk about confidence, and then next week I'm talking about strategy or whatever. And the other great place to pop in and have a look is my website, thevisibilitycoach.com.au. There's a free 15-minute training video down there with a workbook that you can just do, a few minutes at a time, work through the workbook, and then come back to the video when you're ready. You don't have to watch 15 minutes of video in one go, but it's a good starting point, I think, for people to understand what I'm talking about, and then engage with me a little bit more online if they want to come along to groups that I run or whatever. I think the Facebook page and my website are the best spaces to find me at the moment.
Perfect. I'll make sure those links are there as well. And dear listener, as you've heard from Jenny saying that she is a proponent of give away your good stuff. Don't be scared of sharing your ideas and giving value. I know that particular opt-in that's on the homepage of Jenny's site to learn about those first steps into video marketing will be excellent. So I'll make sure that the link is there so you can go and dive in there and start to build your confidence and your technical know-how when it comes to video. Jenny, thank you so much for investing your time here with me today. It's been a joy to talk to you and to hear the ups and downs, the ins and outs, and the evolution that you're going through in this next chapter. So I really appreciate your time.
Thank you. It's been fantastic. Great to be part of it. Thanks, Angela.
You're so welcome. And my lovely listeners, yes, please have a look at all the links that are on the Facebook page on my website page for this particular episode that you'll be able to pop through and see Jenny. And I'd also encourage you, I'd like to talk to you very briefly about one of the ways in which I support women in business. You've heard me speak so often with Jenny and with many, many other wonderful women on this podcast, the importance of the long journey. These things don't happen overnight, and having that supportive environment around you as you're moving through this next chapter is such a vital part. And that's why one of my very core services are business masterminds for women in their next chapters. Now, these are intimate, small groups, 4 people at a time, who go together over a 10-month period each year, really understanding each other and each other's businesses. There is no more supportive environments, I'd like to think, in the world of business. So if you would like to find out more about the Next Chapter Success Circles, simply go to angelarasmus.com/circle and you can read all about what's involved. I'm taking applications for the next circles that will be opening, and I'd love to have a conversation with you if it feels like a good fit. So thank you once again for you spending your time tuning into this podcast. I know there's many, many things you could be doing in your day, and I'm delighted to be alongside you for a small part of it. So take care, and I will talk to you again on the next episode very soon. Thanks for listening to the Your Next Chapter podcast. If you've enjoyed this episode, please let me know. Pop over to angelarasmus.com to subscribe to the show and leave a review. And whilst you're there, you can also enjoy valuable free resources, including show notes and downloads, along with the Next Chapter community, where you can connect with other wholehearted women on the same journey as you. We'd love to welcome and support you as your next chapter unfolds. See you next time.